Hello, this is Delegate Bob Brink from the 48th District in Arlington and McLean, and this is my 7th and final weekly update from the 2013 session of the Virginia General Assembly. A little after 5 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, we concluded our 46 days of legislative activity, and the House and Senate adjourned until we come back to Richmond for our veto session the first week of April. The past week's daily sessions have involved a lot of hurry up and wait. Back at our offices, our staffs made sure that all the constituent emails and letters were answered and that all the materials were packed up and ready to go back to our district offices. Over on the floor, the delegates and senators started early and went late with frequent recesses in between as we reconciled the differences between numerous bills and resolutions and put them into final form so that they could be voted on in the two chambers and forwarded to the governor. As was the case throughout the past 2 months, the week's agenda included a few sideshows and 2 main events. I spoke on the floor against one of those sideshow bills. It was one of the many measures that we saw this year that supposedly were aimed at combating voter fraud, but that would have had the effect of impairing qualified Virginians' right to vote. The bill this week would link Virginia's voter files to a federal database containing immigration and citizenship status information. This link-up supposedly would be aimed at keeping non-citizens from voting in Virginia, although that's virtually a non-existent problem here. Worse, the timeliness and accuracy of this database is questionable. So with this bill, we risk imposing additional requirements on naturalized citizens who are simply trying to exercise the fundamental right to vote. It's wrong for us to do this. Just walk down the halls of any of our Northern Virginia high schools, and you'll see how new Americans are enriching the lives of our region, our state, and our nation. Making naturalized citizens second-class citizens is the wrong way to go. We had a better, more forward-looking outcome on our 2 items of business. First, the House and Senate came to agreement on the first major transportation bill in a generation. The plan will provide almost $900 million annually to help the state's highway and transit infrastructure keep up with a growing population and a growing economy. 2 features of this transportation bill are particularly important to Northern Virginians. First, it includes a regional package to address the congestion that we experience on a daily basis, and it ensures that the taxes that are raised to pay for this infrastructure will stay in the region. Second, the overall transportation plan provides significant funding for mass transit, including $300 million to help complete Metro out to Dulles Airport and Loudoun County. While there are some elements of the transportation bill that I don't like, that's the nature of any compromise. At the end of the day, the bill provides significant revenues for transportation and for the most part relies on appropriate and sustainable funding sources. For the sake of our quality of life and our economic progress, we can't afford to pass up this chance to do something about transportation. My colleagues in the House agreed with me, and we passed the bill on a bipartisan vote of 60-40. The second major item of business that we wrapped up this week was the budget. Again, this is a consensus document whose good features outweighed the not so good. It provides a 2% raise for the state's teachers, whose salaries have been frozen for several years. In higher education, it will open up additional slots at University of Virginia, Virginia Tech, the College of William and Mary, and James Madison University, along with $8.6 million in increased funding for financial aid. I'm on the Appropriations, Health, and Human Resources Subcommittee, and some of the bill's most important provisions are in this area. One of them will put us on a path to providing health care to hundreds of thousands of uninsured Virginians through the Medicaid program as part of federal health care reform. As one component of this process, we'll be pursuing reforms in Medicaid in order to deal with the escalating costs of that program. Second, there's a provision in the bill that I worked on dealing with the state's training centers for individuals with severe intellectual and physical disabilities. Last year, the Commonwealth entered into a settlement agreement with the U.S. Department of Justice on whether these centers comply with the Federal Americans with Disabilities Act. The ADA requires that individuals with disabilities be cared for in the least restrictive environment possible and in accordance with their wishes. Many of the training center's residents are in their 40s and 50s and have lived much of their lives in these centers. Their families are concerned about whether these individuals would receive the same level of attention, particularly medical care, that they need. The bill requires the state to work with the residents' families and with local community services boards to make sure that individuals have the medical, dental, rehabilitation, and other special needs that can be met by community service providers before those residents transition from the training centers to community residential settings. So now these and other bills will go to the governor's desk. Under the Virginia Constitution, in addition to signing or vetoing these measures, he also has the power to propose amendments to the language that the General Assembly had agreed to. We'll be back in Richmond on April 3rd to vote on the governor's vetoes and the governor's proposed amendments. While the 2013 session has wound down, work goes on year-round for members of the General Assembly. In the next few weeks, I'll be meeting with various community organizations and groups to tell them about the highlights and the low points of the 2013 session, and I hope I'll see you there. I'll continue to keep you informed on issues that are important to our region and state through periodic updates. As always, if you have any questions or matters I can assist you with, please don't hesitate to contact my office. My email is delegatebrink@gmail.com. I hope you'll visit my website, bobbrink.org, like me on Facebook, or follow me on Twitter @delbrink. Again, this is Delegate Bob Brink, and thank you for watching over the past few weeks.